have for the water, sewer, and garbage. So if anybody has a question, do you have a copy of the current rates with the additional rates?
On the resolutions, it has what the increase is gonna be, the dollar increase, so. It should be in your packet, but let me find it. So, I mean, like for water rates, a regular residential active account is now $45. And the new rate is $57, so that's an increase of $12. And then for sewer, the current active rate is $67, and the new rate is $75, which is an increase of $8. And then, let's see.
Garbage, I think,
Yeah.
28.
I have it here somewhere.
So garbage now is $17, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So the new rate is $28.
That'd be 28 added on to the current rate?
No,
Maybe almost 30.
that would just be the new rate.
$31 increase.
How much?
It's a $31 increase overall, for all of it.
Added on to the 134 we do now.
31 compared to what we're
So
paying
in
now.
total,
Yeah.
what, a month?
A month.
How much?
31, it's a 31 additional charge to what we're paying now,
So I'm asking
for
you,
all of them.
total cost,
Total cost and your basic.
170 something, I believe.
Yeah.
And 182, what is it?
It's like you're paying about $130 a month. I mean, everybody's different depending on what their water usage is by a few dollars. So then if you're paying $130, it would be $161.
Yeah.
Would be the new rate.
Yeah.
And I know that's a lot of money
We're taking a bath.
we're asking. Yes, it is. However, I do know that we've done the study. Chad here, you know, we've looked at it to try to come up with the best so that we can pay the loans back on our water and sewer project. Because we're having to borrow money to fix our sewer line over there between the Tomahawk and the main line over on the other side of Harley's. That line is shot, needs to be replaced. And then the rest of it will go towards the water project. The garbage rates, which is the highest increase that we have here, we got a new contract with the garbage companies, and their rates have gone up significantly. So, and the only way, either we lose money or we break even, so I'm hoping that this will allow us to break even on our garbage. We're not in the garbage business to make money. So, if anybody has any questions, I might ask that if you would stand at the pulpit and introduce yourself, tell us who you are, where you're from, and we'll do our best to try to answer whatever questions you might have.
Chair Hall. The rate ain't so bad, but when you can't even make coffee with this water without the, you put creamer in the curdles, this water isn't worth a crap.
Yeah.
I can testify that yes, it does leave a ring in your coffee pot.
It curdles the creamer.
Well, it is probably not the best to make coffee. However, I have made coffee with it. I do drink the water here from town, so.
Now we know it's
I filter mine, so,
You filter your.
yeah.
And maybe that's, you know, I don't know what the options are there. I know the water is tested every day to make sure that it's safe to drink, if you so choose. As far as I know, the only place I know you can get drinking water that is not, where you don't have to add chlorine, and that's in Belfry. And they don't add chlorine to their water.
But if we're paying that much extra for water and that, we shouldn't have to go somewhere else and buy the stuff to clear it up.
Well, probably to do what you're asking to do is way beyond the budget for this town to do, because what you're wanting to do is have water that is filtered and cleaned and all that stuff, and I'm not sure that the town can afford to do that. It's within legal limits, and I don't know what else to tell you about that.
It's a long ways over there.
Okay?
Marge Taylor. I thought that the ladies explained it better than you are to a point. The redundant water line, we had to bring the rates up so that the loan would go through. Am I right or wrong?
No, you're right.
Could you explain that to the public, please?
Well, we are putting in a second water line, a redundant water line, that goes underneath the highway over here on, what's this street behind us, goes underneath the highway. Because right now, as the town stands, we have one water line that comes up the middle of River Road, all the way to the tank, and then feeds all of town. With the redundant line, if this line breaks, which it did 2 years ago, underneath the railroad tracks, or not under the railroad tracks, it broke between the railroad tracks, which we were very fortunate, because the railroad wouldn't be very happy with us if we had to stop their trains, because we had a broken water line underneath their tracks. Anyway, that we had to shut off water for the whole town. We couldn't pump it from the pump station to our storage tanks, and we had, basically this side of town had water that would last enough for about 4 days, which allowed them to get the line fixed and back operational. But the redundant line will tie these lines together, and we can isolate different parts of the line so that we can do repair on them and everybody still have water. Because it's, when that happens, when a line breaks like that and you have to shut the water off, that we have no fire protection. Then we have to depend on Bridger and Joliet, and it puts everybody here at risk. So we're trying to better the system, and a redundant water line will definitely better the system. As well as with the water line, we'll come in with a new water line that'll be going down, what's that? Miners, Minespur Loop. It'll be going down Minespur Loop. Because if anybody knows anything about that line, it's old, it's not on any of the maps. It's a 4-inch line. We've dug it up because we've had to repair it. And it's a 4-inch metal line that only allows about an inch of water to go through it. So everybody down on that part of town, they don't get much for volume. And if 2 people are taking a shower at the same time, probably not much for pressure. But we're trying to improve that. And that's another reason why we got started on this. However, the sewer line was a problem that we ran into during the flood. Because we were digging down there and we found out that it is, it's an 8-inch metal line that is rotten. and you can stick your finger through it any place. We exposed it, but we exposed it very carefully because we didn't want to break it. And when we got it exposed, we found it full of holes and just rotten. That's when we brought out a team with a camera, and they ran a camera through that line. It is rotten through and through. There's a lot of holes in it, so it needs to be replaced.
So I'm Sandy Bowens, for those of you that don't know me. So in previous years, even though the water rates are going up, in previous years, we've been allowed extra water in the summertime for sprinkling, and I'm just wondering if that's going to be an option again, where we won't be charged the extra per 1,000 gallons.
What, I would like to do that, and I think the council would like to do that again, but with, Christian explained it to us that to do that, it's a rate change. So we have to make an ordinance and go through the whole process of, for 2 months running, we have to make that an ordinance, read it, get it approved, and do it before we can have that again. She said, and Christian did not want to deal with that this summer, this year. She said, let's take a break this year, let's get this done, and then starting next year, we can hopefully do that, because it's a good thing to do that. I mean, everybody keeps their lawns green, and it looks nice, and it helps the town. But this year, we're not gonna be able to do that.
But if you're dealing with the water race anyway, like, wouldn't now be the time to do that? If you're dealing with the ordinance right now, it seemed like now would be the time to.
Well, being we raised the water $12, how much would we have to raise it, you know, to compensate for that? And we have another issue that we're gonna be talking about next hour with Fish and Game, to look at raising the garbage rates, and, you know, where do we stop? You know, if $12 doesn't seem like much, but it is. You know, I'm on Social Security, I know what it's like, you know, it's sad, or I have to make choices. And this is an extra $31 that I need to get used to and try to adjust my budget. I don't know, what would the council have to think on things like that? How would you guys like to proceed on that?
Would $2 increase affect anything, or would it help out somewhat?
Well, and we wouldn't even have to have or would we have to have an increase to go do something like that?
I don't know what our budget is.
Christian said that it would cause problems, and she just didn't want to deal with it right now. She's been very busy, just trying to get us caught up.
Well,
And I'm not sure, what is the cost of water now? Is it $1 for every 1,000 gallons?
$2.50.
$2.50 for every 1,000 gallons? So if you go out and water your yard, I don't know how much it takes.
that's, we all
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I can tell you something, and this is just from previously having a garden. I can remember one month my bill was $375 without a well, and I chose not to. And I do know that I have had an individual contact me that was very upset over the fact that we gave out free water, and they had a neighbor next door that ran their water nonstop the whole time, and they put in a well. So here's the deal. If they're doing that kind and we are putting that amount of stress, and when I had a garden, I was very picky about coming home, turning on the water at a certain time, had it on a timer, and turning it off. And I was very diligent about it. But Lawns and gardens take a lot of water. And even if you're doing an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening, you cannot believe the amount of water you run through. And as somebody put it, why are you putting extra stress on that well, giving it to them for free, and I drilled my well? And you have to, you know, and in the long run, what happens is when we have, like last year, pumps that are going down, we have wells cavitating. The town paid for it out of the extra funds that everybody had going into water, and it was their funds that paid for it, you know? We didn't shut it off either. You did not shut it off when you had wells cavitating, the free water.
Good point.
And I mean, I'd like to give stuff, but financially, you don't do that in a business. Do you give away free food?
What does our tax dollars go for? None of that. It's a good question. What do our tax, what does our tax money go for in the
Well,
town of
and the
Cranbrook?
water money that comes into the town has to be reserved for water funds.
Correct.
And currently, we don't have anything. But what I'm saying is when you're giving away free.
You say free, I see it as tax. It's our tax
Well,
money that, it's
yeah.
nothing's free in this
Well,
world.
yeah,
so
but
it's
the
not
deal,
free.
but the deal is when you tell people that they can water as much as they do and somebody else is watering off of their well, they're not getting the benefit of it. And the party that's watering off of it is getting the benefit of it. And so if you're putting in the same amount, I'm putting in the same amount.
Mm-hmm.
And you run off a well, and I just choose not to run off the well, and I run off the town. And then when the rates, you kind of feel like you get
I come
burned.
from a place where water's a big deal. This is not an end, this is just your $30. It doesn't stop there. It goes to $300 water bills. So at, you know, at one point,
Before we get too far, what is your name, so that we can get it in the record?
oh, you already know that.
Did
My
you-
name is Don Wilson, I live over on Mine Spur Loop.
I'm Wilson. Okay.
So, my point is that I've
Tax
seen,
dollars. This is the money you're paying for your water bill.
coming from a place where water's a big deal, you know, where I've seen $600 water bills, if there's gonna come to a point where this is never gonna end. So, you know,
But they're-
water's a big deal, and I've gone from where we could have a beautiful lawn, a month later, you jump up your water rate again, now you have a dead lawn. So, this is something that is.
I do understand it, and then, but that's something I think the council, when we get ready to do an ordinance on that, then you guys need to think how much you're gonna charge, if you're gonna charge, and what we're gonna do with it.
Well, and in the past, it wasn't just an unlimited amount of water that you could use. There was you know, we were told that we could use an additional maybe do you remember, Jerry? It was like 4,000 or something a month. I mean, it's not like we were asking for unlimited water in the summertime. There was
There's a cap on it.
yeah, there was a certain amount.
Yeah. And that's something I think that, as the council works on this, something they oughta,
6 years ago, it was 2,000 gallons extra. The last couple of years, it's been an unlimited amount.
So would it work to go back to 2,000 gallons? Do we
Well,
have
and
the
I-
capacity to do that?
well,
Chad-
whatever we do, we have to have it in an ordinance to do
Right.
that though.
Yeah, I get that.
And maybe the 2,000 gallons or whatever it used to be, but that's something I think for a discussion this winter. When we look at making an ordinance that will allow that. And I think having a group participation like this will really help.
Chad, doesn't that require a total rate increase on the deal?
It would, if you raised it.
You're still overlooking the other fact is that when you read your meters, and that's gonna come up here later on at the next meeting, whatever, but when you get your so-called free water, it's not free, because when they start reading the meters again, you get billed for that water.
If I may,
Go ahead.
Just throw my 2 cents in there, because that's what I'm paid to do. So, one of the issues is, obviously, the ideas that I hear around the table, or from the audience, are fantastic. But everything has to be encapsulated within an ordinance. There is a current ordinance on the books, and the current ordinance on the books does not allow for, my understanding, for this rate increase or this additional, well, I want to say free water in the summertime. It just doesn't account for that. And so that can be modified. The reason for this, and once again, this is not a legal discussion, it's more of a budgetary issue, but the reason for the rate increases is, my understanding is that the rate increases for the water and the sewer, well, and the garbage, haven't been increased every year. They've been increased a while ago, and so now this is catching up on the rate increases. Especially for the water and sewer, my understanding is that there's a lot of, like, the water has to stay within the water budget. The sewer funds have to maintain the sewer funds. My understanding is the amount of money that is collected from the water is not currently enough to cover everything that the water is supposed to cover. Same with the sewer. It's not enough that's being taken in by the city to cover the sewer costs. And so these are the rate increases, although they are significant, 100%, $12, $8, $20, these are significant rate increases, but they're the amount of rate increases that are catching up after a couple of years of not doing it on a regular basis, year to year. And one of the reasons why a lot of this came up, I believe, is because the city just now has a budget, a balanced budget, first time in a long time. And so now they're starting to see, the city is starting to see how much water money comes in and how much water money goes out. And so that's one of the reasons my understanding was that, the understanding was that this year we're gonna see how much money was gonna come in for the water, and if it covers all the water projects, how much money was gonna come in for the sewer, cover all the sewer projects, and same with the garbage had to be increased because of the new contract. But once again, the current ordinance that's on the books can always be amended to allow for summer issues and things like that. But some of those ordinances are not before this council today. What's before the council is a public hearing on these rate increases.
Yes.
Just throwing it out there.
And so, I'll expand on Dennison's. I'm Chad Hansen with Great West Engineering, for anyone that doesn't know me. We've helped put together the facility plans, and then the plans and the funding packages for these projects. As has been alluded to by state law, water, sewer, and garbage have to operate as what's called enterprise funds. They have to operate like a business. You figure out your costs, your debt, everything, and then you have to set your fees to cover those. The community can choose to transfer tax money in there, but there's a lot of hoops to draw through, but it's not funded through your taxes, they're general funded. It's 100% funded by your user fees. We did everything we could working with the town. We explored all the funding options. The water project's 86% grant funded between ARPA and SRF loan forgiveness. And the sewer's about 56% grant funded, which are really good deals. Anytime we can get north of 50%, we're pretty happy. 86 is fantastic. So their town has done everything they can to keep the rate increase down. But as Dennison alluded to, is Kirsten has gone through and tried to catch her books up. The costs of water, just like everything else, are going up. Your power costs, your chemical costs, your employee costs, insurance, and the rates haven't kept up. So about half of that rate increase is the debt required for the project, and the other half is just the rates have fallen behind the costs, and you have to plug the math in. This is our annual cost to run the water system, debt capacity, everything, and then you divide the number of users and the usage to come up with these rate structures. So to answer your question, if you start giving away 2,000 gallons uncharged for water, the cost to pump that and chlorinating stuff doesn't go away. So again, you're gonna be falling behind. And we'd have to recalculate, and maybe the base rate would have to go up another $2 or something to make up that difference. So, did I address your question, Mary?
You addressed my question,
Okay.
thank you, because it's not free. Somebody's
Well,
paying the price at some time.
There is a cost to produce that water, to
Yes.
pump it and
Yes.
store it and maintain the system and take care of leaks. Like the mine
I always say around, is it Mine Spur?
Mine Spur.
I mean, you guys have fixed, what, 6 leaks in the last 3 years? That pipe, I mean, is costing you a bunch of money, probably $5,000 between labor and equipment and fuel and parts. What would you guess, Mike, is that about right? Every time there's a leak? So,
Pretty close.
Yeah, on that type, if it's a main line, it usually runs 15 to 16,000.
yeah, so, there's a lot that needs to be done, and then to your point, the town's done everything they can to keep the rate increase as low as possible by seeking out grant funding and loan forgiveness, so it's a tough decision, but I think they've done a great job of finding some funding.
Can you tell them what the cost of this whole project is, so they kinda put it in perspective? I understand at 31, I'm having sticker shock as well as my friends, but
You know, I
1.6,
left
is
my
it?
folder on the, yes, I think it's 2.5 total between the water and sewer.
Million?
Yeah, 2.5 million, yeah. Because boring under the highways and the railroad tracks, the new sewer main transmission and the new water main, the boring with that steel casing in the highway and railroad is incredibly expensive, but that's what BNSF requires, it's also what MDT requires, so we can't really get around that.
So is there a time frame for when the Mine Spur Loop project is going to be started?
Yes.
The contractor, COP Construction, is currently finishing a project in Broadview. They anticipate being done mid-July. And then they're gonna move Jared and his crew down here directly from Broadview. So tentatively mid-July. And the time frame on it, I wanna say off the top of my head, is 120 calendar days, 3 to 4 months, so it should be done this fall.
Okay.
I think they'll go faster because they'll have their boring subcontractor putting in the steel casing while they're working on Mine Spur and the rest of the transmission main, so it might take less time, but by contract, I think they have 3 to 4 months.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Brenda Buckmiller, and I live at 304 Carbon, and behind me is Mine Spur Loop. I have maintained that property for the last 30 years. I bought the property in 1990. My parents bought it. It was listed in the paper as having 2 houses on that property with a large lot. The realtor put her mark on the corner, and my brother put in the pole fence for that corner. Last year, the city came along and said that lot belongs to them. I have mowed it, I have watered it, I cleared out the trees that were there. We put a ditch that runs through there, I had put the ditch under pipe. So now you're coming and saying, if you want to put your water project there, that this property belongs to the city.
Well, actually, yeah, your cadastral or the maps that you bring up, that Mine Spur Loop belongs to the city.
But then why was I taking care of it for 30 years? Why did I got notices here saying, you need to mow this property, take care of this property. It's not, and then
If
you're
I'm
coming
not-
and saying it's not mine.
Yeah. There's an ordinance that states that you're responsible to maintain property to the road.
Not a whole lot. You
Well,
maintain
it's-
3 or 4 feet. You don't maintain a whole lot.
You know, a lot of us do more than that, but it's not a whole lot. You look at the Mine Spur Loop, that's where your
My
property
property
is
only
at.
goes to this side of the ditch, and that is a whole lot.
It used to be a railroad track, and that was supposedly given to the people that lived in the houses. The
Yes.
blacksmith, he got his, and the other people, I don't know. But that was a railroad, and they was giving that to the owner of the houses.
It was
Well,
Mine Spur
as
Loop, and
it's
it was
listed
abandoned by the
now,
railroad.
though,
And it was
is-
given to us with no protective cover attached to the property. And I've had it for 30 years, so it should be mine.
Well, that's something that we will look at, I'll tell you that. However, right now, we do need to stop this meeting, because it is 6 o'clock. Or wait,
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock is when we need, okay, we'll continue with it then. But Yeah, we'll have to look into it. All I know is what the maps tell me.
Go to Red Lodge, check it out.
Well, they have it as, it's not mine, it belongs to them, but then why was I given, why did the realtor put a mark there? Why was I responsible to take care of it for 30 years?
Other than the
I
ordinance.
want
it
paid
states.
back then for the, taking out the trees, that cost me $3,200. Cost me $750 to put the ditch into pipe. I've watered it and maintained it and mowed it and everything else. And nobody's come out there this year and maintained it. The weeds are this tall. And nobody's been over there to mow. So if it's your property, why aren't you over there mowing?
Can I ask a question? Does your property have a deed to it?
Yes,
And it has all,
it said it was block 4. That's what it states up in Red Lodge. And when you consider a block, most people consider a street, a street, a street. This one had 3. That's a block to me, not a triangle area.
Yeah, no, it's listed as mines for a loop.
And that sounds like it's a fantastic issue. If the mayor and the city council wants to look into it again. But I don't know if there's a time limit on public notice or public comment period. And then I don't know if there's additional people who would like to make comments at this time during the public hearing on this.
I would say talk to Everett Edwards. Because that land is his.
we can put that on the agenda to look.
I asked to be put on the agenda and I was told that my comments are not worth the city's time and the people's time to hear me.
Who told you that?
Kristen,
And so,
when I asked to be put on the agenda, I called on May 20th to be put on the agenda for this meeting, for this month.
She's not really here to defend
There's
her.
a
I
lot
think
going
she
on there
invited-
last month.
She invited you to come to the meeting tonight and comment in the public comment section of the meeting.
Yes, but she would not put me on the agenda because she said it was a waste of time.
No, she said if after the public comment, the council wanted to put you on the agenda, they could for the next meeting.
Well, I think that's something that the attorney needs to look at, and we can put you on the next agenda if you would like.
Yes.
Okay, we'll put her on the agenda for next month's meeting. And Dennison will look at the record. Okay. Not hard. Time for a break.
Yes.
So, has anybody else got any comment before we close this meeting?
My name's Erwin Sankey.
Gotta be quicker. Okay. What do you got?
Are you big hammer tonight? Yeah. Okay, the thing I'd like to ask about, you're talking